right, we'll give everyone a minute to jump in here, and we'll jump into it. Let's give everyone a second to jump in. Make sure everybody's good here. Make sure we're live. Okay. All right. Sure, live on YouTube here. All right, mic testing. Make sure the mic's good. Should be good. Yep, we're good. All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday out there. Hopefully you guys are having a good morning out there. We are going to jump into this morning's video. I figured just since there's a lot to talk about, there's a lot going on, I figured to just make things easier and just jump on the live here. And so we are going to go ahead and look at a couple of items. Looks like we're having a little bit of issues with the getting the webcam up, so I do apologize. But we're going to make this part kind of brief here. Taking a look firstly at your radar picture, and as you can see, we are looking at some activity going on here on this Tuesday morning. We do have some rain showers that is going on here across central South Dakota. You know, Pierre up towards Mulbridge, Gettysburg, Eureka, seeing some rain showers here. Then you go farther to the east, and it's a little bit colder. It's below freezing, and so as a result of that, there is snow showers as opposed to the rain showers. And so the Aberdeen area right now is seeing snow right now, and also it extends down to Redfield, and it goes down towards the Huron area, and then it goes a little bit east, you know, kind of the I-29 corridor, kind of Millbank, Sisseton, down to Brookings and Madison. A thin band there of very light snow showers. Now you go up here, look at this up in North Dakota. So all this pink that you're seeing, that's actually freezing rain / sleet. So that is your freezing rain. That is up in North Dakota right now. And looks like right now we don't have to deal with that. We just got rain or snow right now. So that is the story as of 9:45 this morning, and this activity is moving in an southeasterly direction. So this activity will continue to chug east here as it makes its way into eastern South Dakota. Temperature-wise, I wanted to go over that real quick. The current temperatures, we are off to a fairly, I would say, average start for this time of the year. We're at 27 in Sioux Falls. We're at 27 in Watertown, 30 in Aberdeen where we have the snow, 34 in Huron, 41 in Chamberlain already. It's pretty warm. 41 out in Rapid City. Look at Spearfish. We're already at 52 degrees. That's a very mild start out there. 52 as well in Scottsbluff. So those are the warmest spots. So if you want warm weather, you're going to have to go quite a ways west. Otherwise, we got 30s and 40s down here in Nebraska. You know, it's 41 in O'Neill, 37 in Valentine, 28 in North Platte, 32 in Omaha. And then into Iowa, 20s and 30s. We got 23 in Fort Dodge, 34 in Carroll, 30 in Des Moines, 21 in Cedar Rapids. Up into Minnesota, 27 in Minneapolis, 27 in Mankato, 23 in St. Cloud. So, you know, it's, the farther east and north you go, it's colder. But the farther west you go, it gets a lot warmer. Now, we have a lot of things to get to. First off here, first item that I wanted to go ahead and show would be the winter weather headlines. Now let me jump to that here. Let's see. There we go. Minimize. And boom. All right. So we are looking at another winter storm here moving through our area. I want to start west to east here. So you go out west, panhandle of Nebraska. Yesterday we had this filled in throughout all of western South Dakota, was in a high wind watch and then eventually a high wind warning. Now, they have taken that out for western South Dakota, at least on the Radar Omega site. Now, that's inaccurate, so I want to make that very clear that that is inaccurate. Actually, it shows western South Dakota is absolutely involved in this. So let me see if I can change that real quick so you guys can see this. And let me see if I can update that. Okay, so I was able to update that. Let's, you gotta do this on the fly sometimes. I'm not sure why I was doing that, but okay, there we go. So as you can see, western and central South Dakota, and then the panhandle of Nebraska. You are under a high wind warning that is in effect here. Let me go ahead and read this off here for you guys. High wind warning. So this is in effect from this morning, 9 a.m. So it is in effect now, and it's in effect until 3 a.m. Central Time, 2 a.m. Mountain Time tonight. So here's what it says. Northwest winds of 35 to 45 miles per hour with wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour. That is some incredible numbers for a wind gust. At 58 miles per hour, that's your severe thunderstorm threshold. So these are above severe weather thresholds. So these are severe weather winds. Again, this is for western and central South Dakota into the panhandle of Nebraska. And here's what it says here. High winds may blow down large trees and damage roofs, small outbuildings, and signs. Power outages are also possible. Travel could be difficult, especially for high-profile vehicles. Strong winds can cause blowing dust, reduced visibility, and flying debris. Now, luckily for these areas, we don't have snow to deal with. That is the only positive thing about this, but it is a real positive. There is no snow out there. There's, no blowing snow to deal with, luckily. But other than that, it's still a dangerous situation. With wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour, that is highly dangerous still. So this is no joke. These winds are no joke. It is absolutely real, and it's going to be pretty difficult for these areas. So if you're in these areas, if you're driving, if you have to be out driving, be weather aware. Just be safe out there. Probably drive slower. Make sure you got vehicles, behind you, in front of you. Make sure you got space between vehicles, and make sure you have a safety plan. Make sure first aid kit would be great. Water, hat, gloves, in case of an emergency, maybe some food, snack, and maybe, a spare tire, obviously. But, you want to make sure that you are weather aware and having a safety plan in place in case of an emergency. We always like to stress that here. And now, that radar picture is pretty cluttered right now. Now, this radar shows a little bit of a different picture. This one shows more of that freezing rain up here in northeastern South Dakota. So that is certainly a possibility. Now, we have some things to talk about here. The Winter Weather Department. We have a winter weather advisory that is in effect here in northeastern South Dakota. So it includes Aberdeen, Webster, Sisseton, Millbank, Watertown, Redfield, all those areas there in northeastern South Dakota. And this goes into North Dakota, and it goes into Minnesota as well. Minneapolis is under the winter storm warning, or the winter weather advisory. St. Cloud's kind of right on the edge there. But let me read this off for you guys here. So Winter weather advisory, it says freezing rain, additional ice accumulations around a light glaze to a tenth of an inch. So there is freezing rain up here in northeastern South Dakota this morning. And so this is in effect until noon today, so a couple more hours. It says very slippery sidewalks, roads, and bridges are possible. Hazardous conditions impacting this morning's commute. And so that is the latest from the National Weather Service there. Now, reading off the winter weather advisory for the Minneapolis area. I did want to read this real quick here. Mixed precip expected, total snow between 1 and 3 inches with ice of a light glaze of ice there, and winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. Potential for heavy accumulating snow with very gusty winds there. Central Minnesota. Strong clipper system forecast to bring accumulating potentially heavy snow to portions of central and eastern Minnesota. And it says snow will start in Minnesota Tuesday afternoon and spread southeast by the evening. Most likely place for heaviest snow along and north of Interstate 94. Narrow band of 4 to 7 inches will be possible. And along and south of I-94, a wintry mix is possible. And so with the combination of those strong winds, 35 to 40 miles per hour, and with the snow, you can obviously see where we will have issues. Now, for this area here in this baby blue colored area. So what is this? Well, it is a winter storm watch that is in effect here for southeastern South Dakota into southwestern Minnesota and northwestern Iowa, and also far northeastern Nebraska here, the one county. That would be, read that off here real quick. That would be Dakota County in Nebraska. So let's go ahead and read this off. What are we seeing here? Well, it does say blizzard conditions will be possible with those winds. Once those winds pick up and once we start to get this snow moving in later today, blizzard conditions will be possible. Winds could gust as high as 55 miles per hour. And this is for this is in effect from noon today through Wednesday morning. And it does say visibilities may drop below 1/4 of a mile due to falling and blowing snow. Whiteout conditions are possible and may make travel treacherous or potentially life-threatening. The hazardous conditions could impact the Tuesday evening and Wednesday morning commutes. So that's mainly for this evening into tomorrow morning, overnight, and then into tomorrow morning. Strong winds, again, also could cause tree damage. So this is a pretty dangerous situation. So for these areas, again, Sioux Falls, unfortunately, is included in this activity. And again, it goes into southwestern Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, southeastern South Dakota. So if you're anywhere in those areas, if you're in Mitchell, Brookings, Huron, and then Minnesota, Marshall, Pipestone, Mankato, Windham, Worthington, and then in Iowa, Spencer, Sioux Center, Sioux City, Storm Lake, Fort Dodge, Mason City, Waterloo, Ames, Carroll, all those areas, you guys are under the gun here for this activity. Now, based on that, it would not surprise me if that gets upgraded to a blizzard warning by this afternoon. So something to watch. We will be, of course, monitoring the latest here in our studio. I do want to mention there is also a winter storm warning that is in effect up here in northern Minnesota. Duluth, Brainerd, St. Cloud, you guys are under the winter storm warning, which there could be a pocket for 4 to 7 inches of snow with those strong winds of 40 miles per hour. Could cause some big-time problems up there as well. So that is a lot. I mean, there's a lot on that. There also, on top of that, there's a wind advisory for eastern Nebraska into southern Iowa also. So, with winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour, there won't be any snow to deal with, though, down there. But, the areas in blue and red, that's where you have the snow, and that's where the issues are going to be. Again, eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and northern Iowa. That is the area that we are most focused on today. So, again, this event is for today into tomorrow morning. So, buckle up, folks. It is going to be, unfortunately, a rough day out there of weather. So let's get into what we're looking at on the models now. I wanted to go ahead and show you guys the latest. Let's look at the HRRR and take a look at what we can expect over the next several hours, next day or two. And so as we play this out here, and all right, so let me do that. Okay, so this is a look at your model run. And this is this morning. As you can see, there's that rain and freezing rain activity there in central and northeastern South Dakota. And then that activity will spread east throughout the morning into the afternoon. And as you can see, there's your rain. So rain there. Now, once we get towards this evening, there's going to be a window here where we could see some snow showers moving through the area. And so mainly the snow is going to be across Minnesota, and that's mainly where the snow is going to be. But again, that freezing rain potential, the ice accumulation up here in northeastern South Dakota, that is a weather story in of itself right there. And that's unfortunately something that we got to deal with. Now, I do find it interesting that the HRRR model shows for our area, eastern South Dakota into southern Minnesota and northwestern Iowa, the area that's under the winter storm watch, it does show rain instead of snow or even freezing rain. So I do find that very interesting that according to that, it would show, rain instead of snow. Now, this evening, there could be on the back side of the system, there could be some more snow here in northeastern South Dakota into Minnesota. Now, will this reach Sioux Falls? That is a good question. The HRRR is not showing snow in Sioux Falls, which is very interesting because the National Weather Service obviously says otherwise with the winter storm watch. So we have a little bit of conflicting things going on here. So it's hard to really make a judgment on what exactly will happen, but you just got to be prepared for the worst case scenario. And I would still just listen to these warnings that are coming out, these watches and warnings for our area, for the winter storm potential. Still going to be possible here to see some snow this evening, but the HRRR model is not really showing much. Now, let me see if the European model will show something different here. And the European model is also not really showing much of anything, so I do find that very interesting there. Again, it just shows rain moving through southeastern South Dakota, and that's about it. So hopefully that scenario plays out. If that scenario does play out, then that's great. We won't have to deal with the blizzard conditions. We won't have to deal with any snow. It'll just strictly be strong winds. So hopefully that plays out. Hopefully we don't get any snow. We don't need any more snow right now. We are good for a while. And so, tomorrow it does look like another system will come in from the west, western South Dakota tomorrow. And then how about Thursday? It looks like another system comes in on Thursday across our area. And possible freezing rain / snow once again will be possible across South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota. And then Friday, another system. Friday morning, Minnesota, and then Friday afternoon out west, western South Dakota, dealing with more snow. And then, on Friday night into Saturday, another system on Saturday. So buckle up, folks. We have a lot of different scenarios that could play out here over the next few days. We are in an active pattern where we have these Alberta clippers, these clipper system moving through our area, and as a result, that could cause issues for us. Depending on where you're at, it's not going to be everywhere all at once. It's going to be sporadic, in different parts of our region at different times. And so really every day there's going to be a chance for this freezing rain and snow potential each and every day through Saturday at least. After that we should see a break starting on Sunday. But until then, we got to deal with this stuff each and every day now. Temperature-wise, what are we looking at? We are looking at a mild forecast for today. I mean, today is going to be fairly mild. Look at some of these numbers coming in. I mean, temperatures in the 50s to low 60s across south central, western South Dakota, and then into Nebraska. Some very nice temperatures, even for Sioux Falls, being in the upper 30s to near 40. There might even be a window opportunity there. Look at that by this evening. There could be some warming temperatures here in southeastern South Dakota. So, if this plays out, we're looking at rain. I mean, there's not going to be any snow at that point. So, it's at this point, it's looking less and less of a snowstorm at this point, at least for today. Now, tonight could be a different story. There could be some snow on the backside. So maybe tonight, later tonight, there could be some activity. But as of right now, we're not seeing a whole lot here. And then, looking at forecast for tomorrow, we're not really seeing a whole lot there. And temperature-wise, we're going to be fairly mild again today, but tomorrow we're going to cool back down. And temperatures tomorrow will cool down into the teens again, so we're going to be dealing with the cold weather again. And then on Thursday, another, split difference in temperatures there. Teens and 20s in the east, 30s and 40s, even some 50s out here in the west. And on Friday, there's that cold Arctic air, that Arctic blast shooting down by the time we get towards, again, by Friday there. Sorry, I'm just looking at a couple things here. Again, there could be, going back to those wind gusts, there could be a few wind gusts that could hit 70 miles per hour. So that was another thing with that. Again, a possible ground blizzard tonight. So I want to make that very clear. So they're talking about a ground blizzard that will be possible again tonight. As like I mentioned, we looked at both model runs and not showing any snow. Looks like it's gonna be rain. So we shall see what happens. Now, looking at the wind gusts, I wanted to go ahead and look at the wind gust map here for you guys. And looking at the HRRR wind gusts. And, right now we are not seeing those wind gusts. But once we get towards this afternoon, look at those. Look at some of these numbers coming in out west. 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts out west later this morning into the afternoon hours. And then by the evening, there you go. There's your wind gusts coming in tonight. Sioux Falls by tonight. Look at this. 65 mile per hour wind gusts in Sioux Falls tonight. So buckle up. Tonight could be a rough night of weather. Just because there's not any systems, like rain or thunderstorms or snow, we can still have a lot of issues with the wind gusts. These strong wind gusts, these are strong enough. 65 miles per hour, that is crazy. I mean, look at some of these numbers. 70 plus mile per hour winds. That would be, east of Brookings, and that is according to the HRRR. These are some very, very, very strong wind gusts. I mean, this is incredible numbers coming in. And some of these wind gusts will continue into tomorrow, and then by tomorrow afternoon, the winds will finally die down by tomorrow afternoon. But that is a situation tonight, that we really need to be weather aware, because this is a very dangerous situation unfolding here with this activity. Now, let's look at, again, going back to the temperature map one more time here. And today, again, I think we'll hit 40 in Sioux Falls. I think that's a pretty safe bet at this point. I think we will hit 40 in Sioux Falls. I think, areas out west could be definitely in the 50s. That is certainly very much a possibility. But by tonight into tomorrow, you really see those temperatures start to fall again. Again, teens and 20s in the east, 30s and 40s out west. And then, by Thursday, going to be a similar story. And there's that Arctic blast again for your weekend, just in time for your weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're looking at the Arctic blast moving through. Look at some of these numbers. Sunday morning looks to be the coldest. Sunday morning, negative 20s. That is bitter, cold Arctic air moving through our area. And usually we don't get these until, January. So we're probably about a month early, but, it still can happen in December. But it's more of a January, February type situation, but it can definitely happen in December around here. And real quick, I wanted to go over the latest GFS as well. Again, still showing the same thing with those very cold temperatures moving through the area. Real quick peek at next week. What are we looking at? Well, let's take a look. Monday looks to be, again, cold in the east, warm in the west. That's kind of how it's been. And it looks like by Tuesday, this is 6 days out, or a week out, I should say, from today. This is, 30s in the east, 40s and 50s out west. And then by, Wednesday, we'll see what happens after that. But it does look like next week we might mellow out a little bit. We might get into, some numbers around normal for this time of the year, mainly in the 30s. That's about where we should be for this time of the year. But again, there's a lot to sift through in this forecast. There is just a lot going on here. So again, you need to be weather aware in these areas, need to be paying attention to the latest. Watch, again, the watches and warnings, they're there for a reason. They're there to keep you guys updated and weather aware of what's to come for today and into tonight. And so again, you want to have a safety plan in place, and you want to be weather aware as we go through today and into tonight. So again, that was a lot to get through. We like to thank you guys for watching. We are going to be back later today for another video. We'll do our regular scheduled video at around 3 p.m. today, so stick around for that. And hope you guys enjoyed this morning's live video. If you did, be sure to give this a like, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, drop a comment down below, let us know what your thoughts are. And also follow us on Facebook and X. That is where we are most active. We'll be posting throughout the day and giving you guys updates. And also follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well. And of course, the YouTube channel. So thank you guys for tuning in this morning.